And now your first copy should be coming out shortly. What you hear now is it's making the master, disposing of the old one. And it's going to spit out your first copy. Now this is a test print. It's always going to give you a test print. And this doesn't count against your copy clicks, but it's just to make sure that everything is like you want it to be. If it is, I just put in the number of copies I need and hit start. It's set for 20. I did it start and changed my speed setting on that to 130, and now it's going to run at 130 pages a minute. And that's 20 copies. Now, I have some features on the control panel that we can use if I had wanted to reduce this. There are some presets or enlarge it. Now it'll enlarge up to an 8.5 by 14 section, and there are nice little guides here that'll tell you if your original is this size, you can blow it up to this size with that. This machine will also do 2 up, which is if I wanted to do a document side by side, say paper, I just take my original, turn it sideways to where it's on the 11 by 17 mark. I'm going to have to reduce it down because it won't fit on an 8.5 by 11 paper this way. In this case, I go down to 65%, press 2 up, close the lid, put in my number of copies, and start. And what it's going to do now is it's going to make the first master, then it's going to beep at me. And that gives me 20 seconds to either put another original on the glass, so I could do a book, or if I'm trying to save paper to where I'm going to cut this, I can leave the first original in place and just press start again when it beeps, and it just makes the master. There are light indicators above your master making in your print to show you where it is in the cycle. And that's my first print. So if I were doing notepads or something of that nature, that's all I would have to do. And that's 2 up. Now one of the things that I like to do before I start anything on the machine, if I'm a user, someone was there before me, I like to hold down the reset button. So that way any specs that they had changed, for instance the 2 up or the reduction, it goes away. If the machine goes into sleep mode, there's a button here that you can wake it up, but when it goes into sleep mode, it also resets. So you don't have to worry about that. But sometimes in schools you have user upon user kind of change. Your speed indicators here, you can change it from 30 to 130. Typically we preset them to come on at 130. If you bought it from SOS in the past 4 years, your machine pretty much is going to start out at 130. But you can slow it down. Slowing it down, the only advantage it has, it lays down more ink if you have a very light document or certain stocks, maybe a card stock. It might help to slow it down a little bit, or envelopes. You have a print position button, which if my print was off, up or down the page, and I wanted to move that, you can move it in 0.5 millimeter increments, either up or down the page. That way you don't have to adjust it on the glass, try to make a new master. You can just do it. And you can also do this while it's running. And if you press 0, it brings it back to 0. If you were running something with a photo on it, there's a button on the control panel that has line and photo. It defaults to line unless we have set it for you to where it's automatically in duo mode. But you can switch it back and forth, line, photo, or duo. Duo actually gives you the best of both worlds, so that's why we try to preset it to duo. You have a scanning change, which only happens, it only works before you make a new master, and that's to darken it or lighten it. Honestly, we have not had to do that often. We typically leave it in auto, but if it's something that you have a document that you can't darken up, you can simply change the scanning, but it has to be before the master's made. Now we're going to go over the changing of paper stocks. The RISO is not finicky. It will feed anything up to 110 pound card stock. You can do index cards and envelopes. That's probably one of the bigger things. But just to give you an idea, you never want to pull your paper out while the tray's up. You want to press this green button, lower it down, and remove your paper. The machine now will do nothing because it knows that there's no paper in it, so it's not going to print. But for this instance, we're going to change it over, and I'm going to do some envelopes. Best envelopes, I would think number 10 white wove tend to work best, but actually cheaper envelopes tend to work better than expensive envelopes. And you can do up to legal size envelopes. You just want to avoid envelopes with a clasp. Now I loaded the envelopes with the flap to the back of the machine, and I fanned them out a little bit. And you don't want to usually put more than 50 in at a time. But these two guides have locking levers. You just unlock these locking levers, and when you slide your guides over, you lock them back down. That's going to keep the envelopes from skewing. Now I'm going to do this without it being on cardstock where there's a lever right here, because I try everything essentially on normal before I switch that over. That's to run the heavier stocks. Now I'm going to take my envelope and lay it on the glass, and I lay it just like I laid the envelope on the tray with the flap going to the back of the machine, and I just match these guides up. And if the first one comes out and it's not exactly where you want it to be, I'll show you how to move the position up and down the tray without having to make any match. That's pretty much it. It's as easy as that to start printing envelopes at 130 pages a month. So you can actually do a box of envelopes in that size.